Hello, welcome to the Minimalist EDC. My name's Chris, and today is another new knife day. So I got this one off eBay, actually. I've been hunting for this one for a while, hoping it would show up on some of the knife swap Reddits, but I hadn't seen one in some time, and then was browsing eBay and saw that this one was going for about $30 less than MSRP and snagged it up. So you may not recognize the branding on this one. This one was new to me as well. This is the first time I've had one of their knives on my table. But the knife brand is Vosteed. So they, I think they made their bones in the cutlery. They made more kitchen knives than they do pocket knives, but they've made a couple pocket knives to this point as well. And so this is the Vosteed Bellamy. And so we're going to get into it and take a look at it. The packaging is kind of cool. So little sleeve here, and then you end up with a tin aluminum box. Inside the box, there's a taco pouch. And then inside the taco pouch, I'm guessing you're going to get to the knife. Yes. Okay. So this is the Bellamy. And so here are the specs for you. You can pause it if you want to look at it. On their website, they say that the naming of it is from kind of an anglicized version of the French words bel and ami, which means good friend in French, which is kind of cool. It's M390, it's a clip point, it's micarta scales, hollow ground. It's so much of what I want in a knife, especially a clip point knife, because I wanted to explore those a little bit more. So let's take a look at it together. Fantastic. So here's what we're dealing with. And I'm going to get into some initial thoughts and impressions here in a second. And we're going to go through it together. So what we end up having is, for an original MSRP of $130, M390 blade, hollow ground, stone washed, micarta handles with the CNC milling. Look at that, like that is, I wish I could show it better. Maybe the sound will better show you how grippy this is or how much milling is. It's a wave pattern, so they're contoured and are CNC milled out on both sides. It looks like it's ambidextrous. We have the pocket clip that's reversible, also stone washed to match the blade, and to its detraction, in my estimation, we have a lanyard clip or lanyard hole. Not my favorite, but we'll start off from the value proposition of this knife is interesting. $130 for premium steel, premium materials, well put together. Like everything of this one looked like a winner from when it first came to my attention was actually when it was sold out on their website. And that's why I started looking for it in the aftermarket. But it also struck me as interesting because of what you see right here. This hump, which is a front flipper. And we have a regular flipper, and we also have a fuller, which I am not sure if they designed that to be a opening mechanism, but it is well enough exposed that it's going to work. So just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with here size wise, here is the Bellamy against our American $2 bill. I'll show you something maybe of comparable size. This is a Benchmade 940. And here is another little clip point that I have. This is the Civivi Appalachian Drifter 2. So it is a decent sized knife. It is bigger than the 940. It's based on a hunting knife. And I don't hunt, not my bag, but the blade shape is still useful for other tasks. And you've got this really deep curve that comes out to a very acute point and a hollow grind. Yeah, this will make a decent EDC option. So let's start with all of the interesting geometry and engineering that went into its opening mechanism. So we have a flipper tab, right? And already a little cruddy, but you know, not the first owner. I can clean it later. This kind of catches my eye. So the jimping right here is definitely necessary and useful for a normal flipper tab, but the jimping down here It could be aesthetic, I'm not sure, but there's nothing to do with it down there. Once you flip it open, that jimping shows up here, which it's not a place to really put your finger. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But, so we have a flipping mechanism. We have a fuller that you can, get under, and I was better at fuller flipping. Wouldn't be so embarrassing. But yeah. But we also have what is ostensibly a top flipper, maybe a front flipper. Like the jimping goes from here all the way around. So let's see what that looks like. Okay. I can feel my finger slip, and the jimping on here, see if I can get it to focus, is very shallow. Like when you look at it from the side, you may not even know that there is jimping there. So yeah, if I'm, the normal pressure I would put on a knife, let's say this one right here, that type of pressure, because this jimping is actually grippy, is just going to have my thumb slide off the back of this. Now, that doesn't mean it's unusable. It just means you have to also push, as well as a backward pressure, you're going to have to put a downward pressure on the top of this. Even then, yeah, okay. And then it's got a weird geometry to it, because like this face here is flattened a little bit, where I'm guessing maybe that's where the finger is supposed to go on this flatter face. Maybe that works a little bit better. But that's one thing that I can tell right off the bat, is that this jimping should have been more pronounced. A little bit deeper, a little bit grippier. It would make the flipping mechanism much more fluid. Now, in this configuration, I've had other knives that have this type of front flipper and back flipper model. And when you're flipping a knife from the front, your thumb is ostensibly starting in the front and arcing over the back of it. So a lot of times with these, it's almost like a lighter flick, where I'm not even going to mess with this. I'll just move my thumb to the back and hit the flipper tab with my thumb. It's the same motion as doing a front flip. It's just I'm starting back here. And there's nothing wrong with doing that either. It just gives you another way to access the knife. And with the kind of the lighter flick, you can just go right into a useful grip on the knife. So the blade, as you know from previous videos, I prefer a sterile blade, but I don't mind a little logo up here. That's not too bad. At least it's not on the blade face and being just graffiti. So you have their logo, the name of their brand, and on the back side we have the brand name again, and M390 down here. All in all, if you're going to put it on the front of the blade, this is an attractive way to do it. I don't hate that. Moving down the blade, or down the knife, we have a pivot, which it's interesting. Like there's been time and attention taken to this pivot. You can see that there is a scalloped cutouts around the pivot, and then it's milled out there. And then we have the same treatment here, but with a Torx bit in the center. I like the way that looks. It's that little attention to detail that really separates manufacturers, that they don't just put a bland looking pivot there. As I said before, like the micarta is phenomenal. What I can tell here, there's care and attention taken to chamfer the edges, so you can see that this is very knocked down. And then the wave milling pattern right here is honestly some of the best micarta as far as grip wise I've ever had in my hand. This feels fantastic. I can see that they have done a pocket liner where the liner is hidden behind the micarta skills, only exposing itself here when it hits the lock face. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to show it, but there is skeletonization in the liner as well to knock down the weight. Another, mark in the wind column for this knife. It's not heavy to begin with at all either. Moving to the back of the knife, we have one of my favorite styles of pocket clip, which is just a bent piece of metal, curves up, will grip the pocket pretty well, and is deep carry. That is excellent in my book. On the back side, not much to look at here. We have some posts that are standoffs, so the knife is pretty open. So if you were to take this hunting or fishing, like you needed to clean it out, there's a lot of access to the inside of this. And when we get to the disassembly and maintenance video, we'll look at that a little bit more to see how this thing comes apart. But we have basically 3 post standoffs. And another thing to their credit, I like this a lot. So the posts are going to connect to that liner, right? And a lot of knives you would see a corresponding screw here and a corresponding screw here. They have done something interesting, and I'm excited to actually get into this knife to see how they've done that, but they've screwed it into the liner, and I'm guessing that the scales only attach at the pivot and at the clip and this screw right here. So minimal screws, A+ design. I'm definitely here for that. It keeps a lot of the aesthetics of the knife very clean when you don't have it broken up by a bunch of little screws. So it's not a functionality issue, but it's definitely an aesthetic one, and I appreciate it. As far as the action itself, this thing is like A+. Like this, as far as how this action is, I've seen other people on Instagram and Twitter with these. It's a guillotine. Like, you don't get actions like this with knives that cost $100 more. That is otherworldly at a $100 knife. So this knife shares some similarities with a few other knives that I really enjoy. One of them is going to be the Sharp by Design Mini Tempest. So this is an example of a knife that has amazing jimping. Like, if I can show you right here, it's cut. Each face of the jimp has a bite to it. So when you hit this, it just comes out. This right here, I'm wondering if I could get in there with a little piece of wire or a micro file or something and actually sharpen these jimps up a little bit, because I can. And I'm not trying to fail it. I'm trying to catch it with just a backwards motion, because that's what I very much prefer. With this one, I could just go straight back, but I don't think that's going to be possible with this one. I think I'm going to have to push down and back, which even then, man. Okay. Like a lot of force. And it may be where I just need to find the sweet spot. Like, there could be around the fulcrum here, like a point right here where I can push into it, because that's where I caught it right there. Yeah. So instead of putting my finger on the flat face of this thing, I'm actually directing my force at the top of this, where it starts to round out again, straight back into the pivot. So if I do that, it comes right out. Okay. But, like, that being said, I don't think I'm going to be able to do all the little finger tricks, like you use your middle finger to open it up like you can with this one. It's not going to be that for me, at least unless I can modify it. Maybe, like I said, get those jimps a little bit better. But like the jimping on this part of it, which is surprisingly great. Like, I wish they used the same, whatever technology or machining they used to put these jimps in, I wish they did it right here, because this is phenomenal. Like, it just works. Again, that action, like, you just don't get that type of action on a $100 knife. But that being said, we're going to get some time in the pocket with this one. We are going to compare it to I have some other clip points on the way that I want to explore. So we'll look at them all together. But this has been the Vosteed Bellamy. I'm initially very impressed by this guy. I would really appreciate a like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this content. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.